Hey everyone, have you been kept awake at night wondering how barrels are rifled quickly and efficiently in a production facility? Today might be the day you say no to that third cup of coffee, because this Tactical Tech Tips episode has the answers you've been searching for. I'm Trevor Inman, and today we'll begin to discuss the process of taking a round bar of steel and creating a rifle blank that's ready to be turned into a precision barrel. Before we get to the machining processes that we use here at Tactical Kinetics to make rifled blanks, we have to give some attention to the incoming material itself. We start with a piece of bar stock that looks like this, which is sized to produce the finished barrel that we require. Generally, the diameter is spec'd at 1 inch or 1 1/4 inch, and the length varies between 13 inches and 25 inches. For our rifle barrels, this material is typically one of 3 alloys of steel, 4140R, 41V50, or 416R. 4140R is our general purpose carbon steel that's easily machined and can produce a very capable barrel when properly processed. 41V50 steel has a different composition of alloying elements, which offers higher wear resistance for more demanding applications such as full auto fire. 416R is a stainless steel that is easily machined and offers modest corrosion resistance over the carbon steels, but will still rust in some environments if not coated or protected. All of the barrel steel used in this facility is gun barrel quality, which means it meets additional quality requirements for material integrity and consistency. Anyways, before it can be used in our first manufacturing operation, which is gun drilling, the bar stock must be prepped for use in our process. Each bar is cut to a consistent length while keeping the ends very square to the axis of the part. Chamfers are also added to each end of the part. These chamfers must be reasonably concentric with the outer diameter of the part. One chamfer is larger than the other, so it's easy to tell which end of the part is which in these early manufacturing stages. We choose to machine the bores of these blanks in the same direction every time for added consistency. Now that we've talked material, it's time to take a look at the gun drilling operation at the start of our process. Gun drilling machines like this one are highly specialized machine tools that have one job: to drill really deep, decently straight holes day in and day out. Most gun drilling machines have common components that enable them to complete this task. One side of the machine is designed to hold the workpieces, barrel blanks in this case, of course. Each part is located by a pair of work holding cones that clamp on the chamfers we mentioned earlier to align the parts with the rest of the machine and hold them rigidly. The machine processes 4 blanks at once on 4 separate spindles, so it can drill more blanks in a given period of time than a machine with fewer spindles. One set of work holding cones is affixed to an important component of the machine known as the chip box. This is where the tips of the drills are guided into the parts as they initially make contact. There are precision bushings installed in each cone that ensure the hole starts straight and centered relative to the part. The chip box gets its name from its other primary function: catching all the metal chips or swarf being removed from the drilled hole and extracting the chips from the machine into a hopper. So on the other side of the chip box, you'll find the area of the machine that's designed to control the motion of the tooling, which are known as gun drills. Gun drills are very long, super flexible, so there are support structures known as whip guides that stabilize the drills and keep them from buckling while they rotate at high RPMs to produce the hole. In one of our previous Tactical Tech tips, you're cool if you've seen it. If not, it's linked above. I shared a little bit of info on the tools used in this process. For those that haven't seen the video, these gun drills are very impressive pieces of technology all on their own. The tools we use are approximately 200 times longer than their diameter, and they're constructed of a carbide drill tip that has been brazed onto a crimped steel tube and an aluminum driver. This drill is hollow through its entire length to allow for high pressure cutting oil to be injected into the hole through this orifice, which keeps the tip of the tool cool and moves chips away from the cutting edge of the drill. The drill's tip and tube are assembled in such a way that forms a single continuous flute that runs down the entire length of the tool. This flute acts as the channel for cutting oil and chips that need to be moved out of the hole and back into the machine's chip box. The aluminum driver just acts as a secure way for the machine to hold onto the tool and supply it with cutting oil. So while the machine is running, all of these components work together to produce the required hole. The parts are loaded and clamped into the work holding cones. Then both the work pieces and the tools begin to rotate in opposite directions at programmed RPMs. This principle, known as counter-rotation, is commonly used in deep hole drilling applications to produce a straighter hole. Spinning the workpieces opposite the drill cancels the effect of gravity on the drill, which would otherwise bias its direction in the material slightly. It also increases the relative velocity of the tool and workpiece, which allows the tool to rotate slower while still maintaining that desired RPM at the cut. Remember, these things are super flexible and can turn into a pretzel at the blink of an eye if rotated too quickly or insufficiently supported by the whip guides. Once high pressure cutting oil begins to flow, the spinning drills are then fed into the spinning part at a constant rate until the hole is complete. The high pressure cutting oil is crucial to this operation. Without it, chips would clog the hole and break the tools. It also keeps the tools and parts cool, so the fluid is chilled before it is recirculated through the system. Once the drills have retracted to their start position, the parts are unclamped and can be unloaded for inspection. When evaluating the parts at this stage, the main characteristic that we pay close attention to is the run out of the drilled hole. So even with all the special processing methods we just discussed, a gun drilled hole will always have some amount of curve in it due to the drill naturally wandering away from a straight line path. We must limit the amount of the curve that we allow in this process, so the operator uses an indicator to measure how eccentric the outer diameter of the part is relative to the freshly drilled bore. Typical indicated runout seen at the drill's exit end of a 17-inch long part is around 20 thousandths to 30 thousandths of an inch, which means the hole is off center by about 10 to 15 thousandths of an inch. This amount of deviation from center line is completely manageable in our downstream operations, which will all be covered in future episodes. Go ahead and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of these upcoming topics. You can also follow Tactical Kinetics on social media to stay up to date. Catch you guys in the next one.